to put on record as well that, Stone was not as confident as this when we started the tournament, but one way or the other, he's been able to, grow it, and we're here. John, I want you to tell me where you also stand when it comes to the initial conversations about a clash against Nigeria. Yes, they've had one against you in the group stage, so because of that, they're coming in with extra confidence, and nobody can begrudge them for that.
Yeah, certainly, and I think that Stone isn't wrong in saying that Nigeria are the favorites for this match. But I don't think it's far-fetched to say that Ivory Coast have a chance to win this game because they're on home soil. They'll have the 12th man. They'll have close to 60,000 60,000 fans in the stadiums that are going to be backing them to be able to make a run. And, we all know that finals is all played in one game, so anything can happen at the end of the day. And it will perhaps be the humility or humbling experience that some of you Nigerian fans need to be able to calm down at the end of the day. But I think that Ivory Coast it's not the same team that this Nigeria team beat in the group stages. Yes, you did win 1-0, but the likes of Sebastian Haller have come back from injury. The likes of Simon and Degra have come back from injury. It's a new coach. There's a new sense of energy and vim in this team. So over the 90 minutes or the 120 minutes, if that's required, I think it'll be a completely different game. And at the end of the day, the best team will win. But it's not a foregone conclusion that this Nigerian team will beat this Ivorian team. I do agree that the Nigeria team is probably a favorite in this clash because notably of the amount of talent that they have in this team. If you even look at their goalkeeper Nwabili, in the 6 games he's had 4 clean sheets, 14 saves, only 2 goals conceded, and that's been really, really key. So they are the favorite, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. I think it will be an even game, and whoever ends up winning will probably be a 1-0 or something like that along those lines of penalties.
1-0 on penalties, and we do know the kind of story that Cote d'Ivoire have told, with penalty shootouts. And it's interesting as well to note that on both occasions when Cote d'Ivoire won the Africa Cup of Nations, it was via a penalty shootout. What is there with Cote d'Ivoire and the penalty shootouts?
Yeah, so they've been in the finals 4 times, and the 2 wins that they ended up getting were penalty shootouts, both against Ghana, and then the other ones, they didn't score in the 90 minutes and ended up losing against Egypt, and I believe I don't remember the second time. I think it was Ethiopia. But there's something about the finals and penalty shootouts that seems to favor this Ivorian team. Funnily enough, the last time that they did get them to the final and they ended up winning in 2015, they played in the semifinals against DR Congo. So maybe they'll be able to summon that experience. And a couple players are still in this team that won in 2015. You look at Serge Aurier, and you look at Max Alain Gradel, and you look at also someone like Jean-Michel Seri, who wasn't in that squad then, but has a wealth of experience that he's brought to this team. And that's the difference from the Jean-Louis Gasset team, where they've been able to rely on all the players, all the 27 players, if they're sitting in the stands, sitting on the bench or on the pitch. Even when they come into the pitch, it seems like everyone is pulling in the same direction, and they want to be able to get that third star for this Nigerian team. But as I said before, Nigeria is probably the favorite for this game, but it won't be a foregone conclusion like Stone seems to think it will be.
Well, you can also join the conversation, and that will be via our WhatsApp platform. It's 055-11-11997. 055-11-11997. Join us with your messages and let us know where you stand, or which side of the divide you're on when it comes to this big final of Nigeria versus Cote d'Ivoire. Give us your reasons as well. And over here, we're just trying to look at the pure tactics, the pure figures, and those other things that football fans normally do not consider when they're getting themselves ready for major assignments such as these. Well, joining us in the studio as well is Tamimu Issa, who previously served as a spokesperson for the Ghana FA and worked within the communications operation of the Ghana FA. Currently, he serves as an aide to the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, who has made some very instructive statements regarding the forward movement of sport in the country and has been outlining his agenda for the sector if he's given the opportunity to rule Ghana as its president. We'll be getting into that conversation as well, but starting it off, Tamimu, you've heard all of the conversations. Ghana could have been there, but we are not there. Now it's Nigeria who took their chances and Cote d'Ivoire who also transformed their destiny, if we may put it that way. And here they are. They are in the final.
It's been an interesting African Cup of Nations, especially for Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire. I'm really impressed by the remarkable comeback of Nigeria from what appeared to be their lowest ebb when Ghana eliminated them from the World Cup. You remember almost 2 years ago in March 2022, we kicked them out of the World Cup, and that episode in Abuja after we knocked them out, when supporters went on a rampage, seemed to have been their lowest ebb in recent history. But for the Nigerians to organize themselves and come back and reach where they are, I'm happy for them for what they've been able to do to turn what was clearly a lowest ebb for them to almost becoming the African champions.
So, John, what's the situation like on the ground? Now, I'd want to throw back to, beg your pardon, I'd want to throw back to 2015 when it all happened for you, and how, if you want to correct me if I'm wrong, there was a 3-day holiday in Cote d'Ivoire. 3 days of holidays, right?
I believe it was just a 1-day holiday, but
the celebrations just continued.
Yes, of celebrations. So the rumor is that if this Ivorian team are able to win on Sunday, that Monday will be a day off, a day of celebration, and also a day of rest for those who have been going up and down the countries, following the teams and being present also in the stadium. So a lot of people who live here who are also maybe not Ivorian will be supporting the Ivorian team because they really want to have that day off on Monday. But it all depends on the 11 guys who are on the pitch. If they're able to perform and be able to get that win, then the rest of the country will get to the opportunity to enjoy that day off on Monday as well.
All right, so let's start talking about those who have the ability to bring moments of brilliance in this game, because that's what we're looking for. In as much as there will be a team effort, we are looking out for moments of brilliance and some players who will be able to carry their respective teams on their shoulders. Let me begin from the Super Eagles. Along the course of time, we have realized that the goalkeeper has warmed himself into the tournament and has made himself a major force, in the sense that when Nigeria faced South Africa, he rather took the place of Williams, who previously had saved 4 penalties and set a record.
Someone said the fact that you were good in the last match doesn't mean that in this match you're going to be good. And Williams was exceptional. He set a record, 4 penalty saves, all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, we're looking at Stanley Wabali, who, before coming to this competition, I think he had 2 apps. And then you're looking at a situation whereby Nigerians were really, really scared. We were scared because we had a goalkeeper that was starting for us who made a lot of horrible mistakes. And that culminated, if you see the mistake against Ghana, you see a lot of other mistakes that happened. And before the AFCON, we were scared. Our goalkeeper was absolutely destructive to the team. And then our defense was rambunctious. It was everywhere, It was like teenagers. And the defense was terrible, the goalkeeping was terrible, and people said we're going to rely on the attack to carry Nigeria. But at the end of the day, what we have seen is that Stanley Wabali stepped into the goalpost. The first match, people said he was not tested. The second match, they said he was not tested enough. The third match, they said he was not tested enough. Then he faced Angola. He was the near post chance with the corner kick and all this kind of stuff. And at the end of the day, he has become Nigeria's most important player. Stanley Wabali, he's the guy that we look to, because it's not just his goalkeeping in terms of the one-on-one saves, in terms of the fact that he saves, shot stopping, the saves he made against South Africa, the saves he made against Angola, all this kind of stuff, the near post saves. It is the fact that he is able to communicate with the defenders. He will talk to Ekong. He will talk to Calvin Bassey. He will shout at them when necessary. And that is the command of the area that we're looking for. We did not find it with the other guy who would make mistakes and didn't have the courage to talk to the defenders. You cannot be putting us in trouble. You cannot be disgracing yourself and have the mind to talk to me. I won't listen to you. So you can't be making that kind of mistake and then go talk to Ekong, who is doing his job. You say, oh, Ekong will not listen to you. So at the end of the day, we have a goalkeeper that is doing his job. And because he's doing his job, the defenders know that no matter what happens, if we lock up this thing, the opponents will get one or two chances. But if we have a goalkeeper behind us that can make saves, and when you have that as a defender, your confidence is there. Look at Ekong. There are people were talking about that his glory days are behind him. He has become the best centre back at this AFCON. You look at Ajayi, that was average for the Nigerian national team, and now he has become a solid rock. These things, you can tie it to Stanley Wabali's performance as the most important player for Nigeria, in my opinion. And the second most important player for Nigeria, in my opinion, is Frank the Tank Onyeka, who is in the midfield. Now, the Tank is a guy that runs everywhere. He doesn't get tired. This brother is a box to box, but the reason I'm saying he's the second most important player, because Lookman also is a guy I love that came to this AFCON for serious business. Lookman's face always frowned, and it looks like he came for business. But Frank the Tank Onyeka was put in a precarious situation, because when Alassane went out in the first game, Frank was put in a position where he had to play as the DM and the box to box, because Iwobi will not mark as much, and Iwobi was the one to advance the ball. And because Nigeria was playing 3 at the back and 3-4-3, and then defending with 5, that means that there are only 2 midfielders in the middle, basically, or theoretically. And so Frank was put there. He has to do the DM work. He has to mark. He has to retrieve the ball. He has to progress and push it to Iwobi. He has to do box to box. So he's doing the job of about 2 to 3 midfielders all in one. And usually when I look at this guy, I'm like, how does this guy not get tired? How does this guy not get injured? How does this guy, he's doing, and that's why we call him the Tank. He is the Tank, Frank the Tank Onyeka. That's why we call him the Tank. So Stanley Wabali, Nigeria's most important player. Frank the Tank Onyeka, Nigeria's second most important player. And if you want to go to a third player, you have to look at Ademola Lookman and what he's doing. To me personally, I have been absolutely impressed by Ademola Lookman. Before the AFCON, I made a video stating that Ademola Lookman, what do you add to the Nigeria national team? What value were you adding? Because he was adding no value. And I saw the fact that this brother should be put on the bench. That's what I said. I said all manner of things about him, but this brother has proven me wrong. He has come to the AFCON with serious business. At the knockout stage where you needed a player to step up, he has stepped up and done what is necessary. And I want to make a comment about the Ivorian team just as I round up. I want to make a comment about Cote d'Ivoire. If you look at the Ivorian team, one of the players that I absolutely look to and say this brother is absolutely amazing is Seko Fofana. And Seko Fofana will always be a player that I would look to and say, this brother, he is something different. Because you have a guy that's running everywhere. You have a guy that is strong. To me, he has been top 3 best midfielders at this AFCON. And when you remove him from the Cote d'Ivoire team, the difference is there. He is the tank. The guy that advances the cause of Cote d'Ivoire. He is the one that will assist. He's the one that will run back. He's the one that is shouting. He's the soul of the team. Seko Fofana, the soul of the team. And I really love what he has done in the Cote d'Ivoire team. But one other thing I want to say about Cote d'Ivoire is this. You know, if you check Amazon and you type Spider-Man and you put the suffix or the prefix, you put the suffix or the prefix there for Destiny, you will come across a game guide, right? Spider-Man 2 game guide. And when you come across the game guide in the Spider-Man game, Spider-Man gets beaten a lot of times, and then he still finds a way to come back and becomes victorious. And that's what we have seen from this Cote d'Ivoire team. They get beaten. Yeah, as in, at the beginning of the game, it's like this team is down. It's over. Senegal, it was over. You can't tell me that game was not over. The Senegalese thought it was over. The Cote d'Ivoire fans thought it was over. They showed their faces. They were sad. Some of them were almost crying. That's the truth. But all of a sudden, the coach makes the substitutions, everything changes, and it just goes to that next dimension. And it's you know, I use that game analogy because you look at it, at what Cote d'Ivoire is doing, it just looks like, you know, Spider-Man, because Spider-Man is a human being, right? And then, you know, gets the powers, and he's Spider-Man 2, if you play the game, gets beaten. It's pumped, you know, and everything. And the reason I put the game guide there, you know, when you type Spider-Man 2 and put the prefix or the suffix Destiny, you see the game guide, is because you need a guide to be able to push you to the next dimension. And that is what Cote d'Ivoire has done. They changed their guide. They sacked the guide that was guiding them to the bush, and they got a guide that will guide them to promised land. And once they sacked the one guiding them to the bush where snakes are and all those stuff, they got a one that was guiding them to the other side. And when they got the guy that was guiding them, they beat Senegal, they beat Mali, and now they beat DR Congo. Do you know that
they look like they can beat Nigeria?
No. That's you know what you are doing now. You know. Sometimes when you play Spider-Man 2, you die. You know. But if you don't follow the guide very well, you know. But that's different. What I'm saying is very simple. Look at what they did to DR Congo. They made DR Congo's attack look powerless. And then DR Congo that was attacking everybody, they made it look powerless. But against Nigeria, they've come up against their elder brothers. And as elder brothers, we have to do what we have to do. You can't allow your younger brother beat you.
All right.
That's just it.
Stone, I will come to you in a bit. Stone is drawing a lot of reactions. One of them is coming from William Azari. He says, Nathaniel, I respect your decision to bring Stone in, but now it looks like he's talking a lot more emotions and not football. Okay, thank you very much, William, for the message. There's this one from Charles Benoni Okai, chairman of the Greater Accra GJA, Ghana Journalists Association. He says, how I wish Niger won, but for their ranting, it says that they are too loud, so I'm going to root for Cote d'Ivoire. Okay, so he was rooting for Nigeria, but he wants you guys to tone down a little bit so that he can continue his support for you. Remember, it's 055 1111997. 055 1111997. Now, John, can you also give us a lowdown of what play is going to look like for Cote d'Ivoire? Because ideally, every team that goes into a big game such as this would want to wrap things up in 90 minutes and not take themselves through the pulsating pain of extra time and, for that matter, penalty shootout.
Yeah, certainly. Before the DR Congo game, Emas Faye mentioned that he wanted his team to start off well, and the game against Senegal and even the game against Mali, they didn't start off well, and they had to be chasing the game. So I think that it's going to be more of the same. He'll want to not fall behind, especially against a Nigerian team that's not really conceded that many goals. If, like I was mentioning earlier, Nobili has only conceded 2 goals, and he has been really a fantastic goalkeeper in the back as well. And then the defensive line with Calvin Bassey, with Trust Ekong as well, have been really fantastic in the back. So, there's not going to be that many chances. And when this Ivorian team has chances, they need to be able to take those chances at the end of the day. But they'll also be able to rely on a couple of players. If you look at someone like Max Alain Gradel. This is his 7th AFCON, and he'll be actually playing his 3rd final this Sunday. So he has the experience over the long years of being in this position, winning only once, but he'll have the desire and be able to transmute it to the team, to be able to play well, and then also to be able to manage the game as well. So this Ivory team, the key to their success, potential success on Sunday, is if they're able to manage the game well, which means starting well, not conceding goals, and then taking the chances that they can. And other players that will probably stand out in this matchup, like Stone mentioned earlier, Fofana is something else. He's a superstar. You can see him on the pitch, the way that he runs, the way that he really also has so much passion for the game, and he tries to improve everyone that's in and around him. I was at the stadium against against DR Congo this week, and you could see that he was disappointed when he came off, but at the end, he apparently went to take a quick shower and then came back, and then he was on the sidelines, and I could see him, rooting and pulling for his team as well. And we also need to not forget Frank Kessié. Frank Kessié was really, really bad in that 4-0 defeat against Equatorial Guinea. It seemed like he felt like he was lost. He was just not playing well at all. And he seemed like one of the leaders who were the first to just give up, in a sense, and that's something that the fans wouldn't tolerate, and that they didn't tolerate it during that game. But since then, he came on against Senegal, scored that penalty, and then scored another penalty in the penalty shootout to be able to push the team on to the next round. And then he had a man of the match performance against DR Congo. At one point, it was around the 37th minute, I could see him kind of frustrated with a pass from one of his midfield teammates. He's trying to ensure that, like Emerse Faye said, the bar that they set so high after the performance against Senegal, they're able to keep that level of momentum, keep that level of excellency, because that's the only way that they'll be able to beat this Nigeria team and to be able to win on Sunday. If they come with a mediocre side, if they start slowly, they'll end up just losing and disappointing everyone who is here in Cote d'Ivoire.
What does this mean for the people? Obviously, I mean, the answer may sound obvious, but you are there on the ground, and you know the kind of journey that the national team has traveled since the year 2015, getting back to the final after these years, and the potential of winning it. What does it mean for the people at home? And of course, there is that element of paranoia as well among some people that, hey, this can be taken away from us on our soil and in front of our own friends at home.
Yeah, so there's a couple anecdotes which really illustrate the point of how it feels for people who live here to be able to win this AFCON and keep it on home soil. The first thing is people have been joking about the fact that this is the Ivorian AFCON, so they can decide when they want to win, when they want to lose, when they want to qualify, when they want to keep the cup here. So there's a sense of like they control their own fate, although that's not true, although they needed the likes or the help of the likes of Mozambique to draw with Ghana, and then ultimately Morocco to win, to be able to go to the next round. There's a sense that, whatever happens, they'll end up being a winner in this AFCON. So that's the first anecdote. And the second anecdote is things that people have been screaming outside of the stadium or even on the streets. And they basically say, on vaut rien, mais on est qualifié, which means we're a useless team, but we're still qualified. We're a useless team. And then recently people said they were a useless team, but we're still in the final. So there's a sense of kind of realizing that the team has been lucky and the team at certain times have not been good enough, but they really appreciate the passion that they've been able to show on the pitch. They appreciate the kind of fight and the warriors that come out and play and try to defend the colors of the country. And Ivory Coast is known as the pays de l'hospitalité, the country of hospitality, and that's very true because you see there's communities from all over the sub-region that live here. There's a big Nigerian community that lives here that I've met some of them. There's a big Ghanaian community that lives here. People from Mali, people from Burkina Faso, people from all the way from Senegal that all live in Abidjan or in the rest of the country. So it seems like everyone is coming together to support this team. And I mean, if you see the scenes after each and every win, it's just incredible. People are out there in the streets dancing, celebrating, enjoying the 24/7 lights. They're just having such a great time outdoors as well. So I think that if Ivory Coast is able to pull it off on Sunday, you will see scenes that you would have never seen before. People just partying until, probably even until Tuesday night, just going on and jubilation. And people, my friends who are businessmen think that it will also be good for business at the end of the day. So everyone is crossing their fingers and hoping that this Ivory Coast team is able to pull it off against the favorites, Nigeria, on Sunday.
All right. So on one side, we have John, who is, admitting that, yes, Cote d'Ivoire had to, go through the motions as a team that were not exactly a favorite side, but of course had a responsibility as hosts to perform and keep the home fans, enthused about the competition. And then we have Stone on the other side, who believes very much that this is almost a birthright because Nigeria have, shown perseverance and have even bigger quality than anybody else, therefore must win and will win this. Will in capital letters. Okay, so Tamimu will play the referee, or the middle, will play the man on the middle, spot. Tamimu, clearly this is a game of great entertainment, and the fact that Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire are in the final also goes to buttress the point about the strength of West African football, when it comes to the bigger picture of the continent. Does this still hold, or is this just one of those days in West African football? What does it tell us here in the sub-region, about the strength we hold in the whole CAF region?
Yeah, it does. Now, you look at the defending champions, Senegal, and the fact that you have two West African countries in the finals, it shows clearly how West Africa is very strong on the African continent. At a point in time, I think in 2006, we had all 5 African representatives at the World Cup coming from West Africa. And specifically for these finals tomorrow, I think it's a contest that is too close to call. Looking at the circumstances, the two teams reach the finals, and also how the stakes are high for all of them, with Nigeria having come back from the dead, like I said earlier, to get to this level of African football finals. It's a renaissance for them, and I believe that they have the experience in terms of experience. They are ahead of the Ivorians. These Nigerian players have played together for some times. At some point it looked like an individual collection of Nigerian-born players outside. That was the criticism when they couldn't qualify, but they've been able to come together, build a solid team. And as my Nigerian friend was analyzing earlier, he seemed to have identified the strength of individual players, but I think this is a solid teamwork. You can see right from the back through the midfield to the attack. Someone like Osimhen as the arrowhead, he's been so selfless in this competition. He plays for the team. He doesn't look to score and make a name for himself. It's all about the team, and that has carried the Nigerians throughout to where they are now, the Super Eagles. And for the Ivorians, I think it's been that desire to grab a second chance. They were virtually out of the tournament. They realized how they had let the country down. Everyone thought they were out, and once they got that second opportunity, they desired to make the country proud, to make amends for how they faltered in the group stage. They've been unstoppable since then, and with that national support and national expectations and all that going into the finals, they are so close that I don't think they will want to look back. But that comes also with its pressure. Everyone is the pressure is going to be more than what they face in the group stage. Now expectations are high. It's the final match of the competition. You have to grab and win. But I don't know how they will be able to manage that kind of pressure. And you look at their records in the competition, apart from the semi-finals, which they held their own and took the lead. They always have to come back from behind. Even to get to the knockout stage, they had to wait till the last minute stage to grab the last 4 best third place team. And then the semi-finals, they came from behind when Senegal took the lead, and they were almost out, and they got a penalty in the closing stages. In the quarterfinals, they also had to come from behind. It was only the semi-finals that they didn't have to come from behind, and they took the lead. I don't think against Nigeria, if they allow themselves to have to come back from behind, Nigeria are going to allow them, because Nigeria have got that kind of experience and resilience throughout the tournament to be able to hold it till the end. So it's a fairly balanced final, very difficult to call. And I personally, from home support and the kind of comeback the Ivorians have made, I'll be excited if they are able to win, because it's been since Egypt won the AFCON in 2006 as host. No host nation has won the AFCON, so this presents a great opportunity for Ivory Coast to break that jinx, and I hope they are able to do it. But it will be very difficult. It's a tight contest.
A tight contest indeed. Send in your messages. It's 055 1111997. 055 1111997. Let me just remind you that with 10 Ghana cedis, you can get free tickets for concerts and also shopping vouchers worth up to 500 Ghana cedis to shop at Melcom, or get some buckets of juicy chicken at KFC every week. So here's what to do. It's very simple. So just stake 10 Ghana cedis or more in the Game Park Game Pick 1 or Pick 4 lottery to be entered into a weekly Saturday raffle for a chance to win. Now, regardless of the outcome of your stake, you can still win a voucher for yourself. So vouchers are limited, and remember, you can play more to increase your chances. And also remember to watch the Saturday promo on Adum TV, and that will be at 6 p.m. today. So dial *946# or visit www.gameparkgames.com to play now. Terms and conditions apply. Game Park Games, more moolah, more power. All right, gentlemen. Let's go into the likely outcomes and what it could generate as well, on either side. Let me start with you, Tamimu. This tournament in terms of standard has been a very, very high one, and Cote d'Ivoire must be given the plaudits for putting this together. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of organization, in terms of infrastructure, officiating, quality of football, it's been absolutely great. Even support base, the stadia have not been empty. Some previous AFCONs, there have been concerns over poor attendance and all that, but this time I saw quite a number of supporters from various countries fairly represented. And officiating, just this week Gary Neville tweeted and was talking about the high standard of officiating at the AFCON, and it's a major plus for African football to have Europeans and key people in football talking about the quality of officiating, the interpretation of VR rules and all that. And the key thing is even the quality of play on the pitch. African, both locally based players and those who are abroad, and players deemed the players whose careers are deemed over. They've revived their careers here at this tournament over 30 years. Normally we'll write them off, but they've proven that experience is very key in national teams. So it's a major plus for African football, and whoever wins this competition, either Cote d'Ivoire or Nigeria, these are teams that are on a renaissance, considering how they both missed out at the Global Soccer Fiesta in Qatar, and they set out a mission to develop their national team. So this will be the ultimate victory for the sort of program they have.
All right, so we're still here on the Joy Sports Link on Joy 99.7 FM. And we will be getting into your messages as well. Just send them in and tell us where you stand. It's 055 1111997. 055 1111997. Send in the messages and let's get talking about that big final tomorrow. There's also the third place game. And as we get into the details of this big final game, I'd want us to just touch on that briefly. First of all, there are those who sometimes say, look, let's just put it aside. Do we really need to play the third place game? Let's begin with you, John.
Yeah, I mean, I understand people who do end up saying that this third place game is more of a friendly than anything else. But it also gives the opportunity for some of the players in both teams, South Africa and DR Congo, that maybe haven't been involved in the other games to be able to go out there and try to make their country proud and try to come back with a bronze medal. So I think it's also a really nice way of wrapping up this AFCON. I know that today's game is actually at the Felix Ufo-Boigny Stadium, which is in town. So it's an easier stadium to get access to than tomorrow's game, which is a bit further out of town. And so I also anticipate that people who haven't had the opportunity, that live here but haven't had the opportunity to go to a stadium, will probably fill that 40,000 capacity stadium today, and it'll be a much more relaxed kind of environment, and a family and friends kind of environment as well. But I do understand that people think that it's not a competitive match, but I do like seeing that we're able to rank a third best team. And you didn't ask me who I was for, but let it be known that I'm rooting for the Bafana. Yeah, I think that hopefully they'll be able to win. I think they've gone above and beyond what people had expected of them. And it would be good for them to go home with some kind of medal, the third place medal, but at least it shows some kind of progress, since they haven't won this trophy since I think it was 2000, if I'm not mistaken. But it shows some progress in their game, and it also is nice after they won the Rugby World Cup to have them win another trophy and continue to progress their sports in the country.
Well. Interesting stuff there. Let's now get to you. What you also think about the third place, Stone?
So basically, if you look at the third place match, a lot of people might see it as a match that shouldn't be played. It's forgone, and let's just allow it just go like that. But there is the tears that have happened on the pitch during the semi-finals, and there is the cushion that in the heart that, okay, I want something. This is the first position, this second position, I'm third, and this is fourth. There is a sense of consolation. It's like a consolation prize, so to speak, and it might not have the same competitive edge, that many people want. It might not have that same push, but I think if you look at the competition and how South Africa have played in this competition, when they lost their first match against Mali 2-0, they came back and absolutely destroyed Namibia 4-0, and then they went on to play, and they have done well so far in the competition until they met Nigeria and crashed out, of which that match was a dogfight. It was not, Nigeria did not just beat them, it was a dogfight. It was end to end, and got to penalties, and Nigeria eliminated them. I think that South Africa has the gift of comeback. They have the gift of comeback, and they did that in the group stage. And I don't think DR Congo has anything left in the tank against South Africa. I think it's going to be a straightforward thing. South Africa is going to beat them. DR Congo is going to try, but South Africa is just too strong for them. And I think also this also gives the fans something to cheer about. You know, the last memory you have is a memory of pain. You know, you just lost to Nigeria as a memory of pain, sadness. Now you go play DR Congo, you win the match, or you cheer for your team, and then when you win that match, there's a sense of, you know, a little bit of joy and happiness that you get from a sense that, okay, I got the third place, and the match happened, and all those kind, I won the match and all those kind of stuff. And let's not forget that a lot of South Africans did not expect South Africa to get to this stage. In fact, if you look online, they were saying a lot of things about their team, and the same thing with Nigerians. But at the end of the day, South Africa is here. You look at the fact that you know, one of the things that just interests me about the South African team is the fact that when you look at their starting lineup, about between 7 to 9 of them are from the Sundowns. That is absolutely amazing. I mean, these guys are going to the local teams.
And it also
people.
it also brings up the conversation about growing our leagues, and I believe that this is one of the big legacies we can take away from this tournament. That teams have come in and have shown that if you grow your local league and you grow it well, it will serve you well.
And we're talking, as in, I think yesterday we were talking about this, and one of the major things you can look at is the fact that South Africa, they didn't need to they didn't need to go outside and pick people, and of which there's nothing wrong in doing that, but they have shown us a pattern that we can follow. I mean, some of the substitutes are from Orlando Pirates and different other teams, while the starters, you know, a lot of them are from Sundowns. And then you see the way they play together. They know how they play, they know how they move, they know how they defend, they know how they move. You know, Mokoena, Mvala, you know, and Williams, and the goalkeeper, and all those guys like that, just moving evidence and everybody. And what this has taught us is that there is no one way to win the AFCON. There is no one way to be effective at the AFCON. It's not every time that you go and get players playing outside the African leagues, and you win the AFCON like that. Sometimes you can go with the local players playing in the African leagues, and they will give you the best, and they will go against the best of the best, and they would match toe to toe, and sometimes they would defeat them and actually move to the next dimension. South Africa is a case study. There are also a lot of teams that also brought people from their local leagues and stuff like that. And you look at the development of the local leagues, and I believe it's going to keep developing. And keep moving to the next level. You know, even the sports academies, the football academies, and stuff like that in the African continent. With what we are seeing at this AFCON, there needs to be now massive investment into the African leagues in terms of bringing it to that next level that it deserves to be at. Look at the South African league. Look at what they are producing. Wabali, the Nigerian goalkeeper, is a goalkeeper in the South African league. And for cheaper, and this is absolutely amazing. So he comes from there. He's the best goalkeeper at the AFCON right now. It is not a goalkeeper in Europe. It's not a goalkeeper in Asia. It's a goalkeeper, an African goalkeeper playing in an African league. That's the best goalkeeper at the AFCON. You look at Mvala. You look at these other guys. You look at so many other people that have played. And you know the amazing thing about this is that some of the players that went to Europe, they went on the strength of the structure that they got from the African teams and African leagues here. They became better here, and then from there they were seen by a team in Europe or a team in Asia or a team here, and then they were bought and taken to that place. So the development of the leagues in Africa, you can't underestimate it, or you can't overestimate it. It is necessary that we pump in the money. And look at what CAF has done with this AFCON. This is the greatest AFCON we've ever had. This is the best AFCON we've ever had. The footballing quality, the refereeing, the VAR, the camera quality. I used to complain about camera quality at the AFCON. I used to complain about camera angles. That is not the case. Cote d'Ivoire has absolutely destroyed all of that myth. they threw it away. They were like, no, this is not acceptable. They have given us the greatest AFCON of all times. I mean, the last AFCON before this one, there were some things that happened, and the VAR will not get the right perspective to see what is happening. They'll show the camera from the back and all those stuff. Like now, you see everything clearly, and the decision making from the VAR is very fast. The referees, this is the best application of the VAR we have ever seen in football in any competition, including the World Cup, including the Euros, including the Copa America, including whatever competition you want to mention. This is the best application of VAR I've ever seen. And this is the greatest AFCON. Cote d'Ivoire gave us the greatest AFCON of all times, and we have to appreciate CAF. We have to appreciate Cote d'Ivoire. We have to appreciate the president, the footballing body, in Cote d'Ivoire, and just the entire nation, and welcoming the players and everything. This was amazing. I mean, I was at Abidjan for some time, and the streets are just so beautiful and so safe, and and all this kind of stuff, which is amazing, and the people are very welcoming. So kudos to Cote d'Ivoire.
Kudos to Cote d'Ivoire indeed. Tamimu. So there we go. Wonderful organization, and now it's a big template for everybody else to follow. So we're looking at a situation where the next tournament would have a lot of eyeballs, because especially of the attendance, which is something which we have to commend the local fans for.
Like I said a while ago, attendance has been fantastic. You can't play football in an empty stadium and expect the same effect. And if you play a continental fiesta like the African Cup of Nations, and you don't have people inside the stadium like we had in some of the recent tournaments, then it's worrying. But this proves to you that Cote d'Ivoire is a football country, and I believe that in choosing the host of the African Cup of Nations, it's very, very important to look at the country. In as much as we want to give the hosting right to some countries to develop their infrastructure, CAF has other minor tournaments like the under-20, under-17, and women competition. Those competitions can go to some of the countries that are not really up there in terms of football fever, to ensure you have big attendances at match venues. But whenever the AFCON has gone to a big football country in Africa, attendance has never been an issue. Like we saw it when it came to Ghana in 2008. We saw it when it was in Cameroon last year. We saw it when it was in Egypt. And the next AFCON is in Morocco. You really can be sure that Morocco, with the hosting the AFCON, attendance will even be much better than it is now. The concern or worry is that because it's at the northern side of Africa, many countries within the central part of Africa and West Africa may not be able to travel there. But with Cote d'Ivoire, where Cote d'Ivoire is, we've had a lot of West African representation at this AFCON. So I'm talking about the effect of the attendance and why possibly we had high attendance as well. Apart from Cote d'Ivoire, the local fans being high football enthusiasts. You have Cape Verde, Mali, Burkina Faso, Ghana, Nigeria. All you need to do is just get on some bus and then fly. But in Morocco, it may be very expensive, so we have to look at the transportation system to ensure that more fans are able to travel to the AFCON. You can never have a very, very lively AFCON without the fans. That's why I'm always in support of how fans can get there. You can't send your national team there and say that you don't want to send supporters there to back them. So whatever it is to make sure that you can mobilize some support to go and root. It's a festival. We have to applaud them and look forward to a better AFCON in Morocco.
A better AFCON in Morocco indeed. Let's start talking to our tournament correspondent. I'm talking about Daniel Cranting. Daniel Cranting is on the ground. He just returned from a news conference. He's attending another one. And, there's a lot in terms of, preparation for the final day. Remember that today is the third place game. Daniel, good to have you here. We were just asking John a few minutes ago about the people and how things are going on the ground and how excited the home fans are. And he's been explaining it for all of us. But I want you to put this, in context. The whole South Africa DR Congo third place game, and what South Africa could be taking away from here, what DR Congo could be taking away from this tournament, considering the way they all started, and what it's looking like, what we should be considering for these two sides as we build up to the third place game, and then we'll probably talk about the final as well. Can you hear me, Daniel?
Yes, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, great. I'm saying that, look, for both the South Africans and the Congolese, obviously, this is not the game they wanted to be playing. At least from the South African point of view, we've had a number of their journalists go home, and that's because the second half of their league is starting just next week. So they see that as more important than staying for the third and fourth playoff game, and that's why. Basically, when you read the room over here, today is match day, but almost everybody's attention is on what is happening tomorrow. Today is like a mini holiday. Those of us going to the game are just going to enjoy it because of just pure vibes, not necessarily because we want to see a big football game. And that's what makes it a bit sad when you are not able to make the final. And for journalists on both sides, both the Congolese and then the South Africans, they are still quite disappointed in their team. Was not able to make the final. So that's just the mood around today's game. But earlier today, of course, we had a press conference for the final. We had both teams and both head coaches and both captains speak to us ahead of the final. That's more of the focus now. As I said, tonight we are going to attend the game, obviously. But even for the Congolese and the South Africans, they know that it's just a mere formality rather than something that they would have loved to participate in or actually go and watch. So it's kind of sad, but obviously as Ghana we've been at this stage before, so we sort of understand that sentiment. Nobody really wants to be playing the third and fourth playoff game.
Interesting stuff. All right, so the conversations with our colleague journalist and all of that about chances of both sides. How are they going, and what are the people in the media saying about these games?
It's really difficult to find those who are, especially talking strictly football, who see it going one direction, like pretty easy. Obviously, when you talk to the Nigerians, they are a bit more sentimental. They obviously tell you that the Super Eagles are winning. But when you go down to the crux of the matter, they'll just be telling you that Super Eagles are winning because they are Nigerian. But when you speak to neutrals, I've spoken to a number of neutrals, I've spoken to a Gambian, I've spoken to some Cameroonians. They really don't know how the final is going to go, and that is even my personal sentiment. Both teams are, it seems like they cancel each other out, and when you even look at off football, when you look at the script and the drama and the storylines around the reaching the finals, they are two very unique stories, so you really can't tell where this thing is going. Even history can't really give you a definite answer as to who's going to win the game or who's going to lose. So it's, for me, I think this is a perfect final. And what is really making it more tasty, especially for the Ivorians, is that they've already faced the Nigerians before in the group stages. Obviously, they lost that game under a new head coach. So we'll be hoping that their team would have learned their lessons. This is a Nigerian team that hasn't changed pretty much since then. But for the Ivorians, they have changed. Obviously, with the new head coach, different instructions, they have changed. And they feel like that will give them a slight advantage going into this game, which is pretty understandable. And then for the Nigerians, also look, even at the press conference, Ahmed Musa said it's still the same Ivorian players he met in the group stages. It's just a couple of tactical tweaks. So he is sure that his side will be able to adapt, just like they've been able to adapt to all other opposition throughout the competition, and then they'll be able to bring the trophy home to Nigeria. So it's really difficult to tell who would win, even from individuals, chatting with individuals, chatting to see, gauge their mind and their sentiment towards the game. And as I said, it is the perfect final. It's not like a couple of years ago where we look at last year's AFCON where Egypt had basically linked through to the final, so we all knew that Senegal were favourites to get into the final. You go to the 2019 final, Algeria had that slight edge over Senegal. 2017, although Egypt were favourites for that one, Cameroon shocked them. But at least before the game, people could say that these are the favorites, Egypt are the favorites. This time it's not really like that because we don't really know what to expect from both teams. And that's what makes it so beautiful to watch. And that has basically been the story of this AFCON. After match day one, we all knew that you can't really look on paper and say this team is going to win. And that's what this final is basically a proper representation of what we've seen throughout the competition.
Well, thank you, Daniel, and you need to run off as well to the next symposium, so we'll catch you later on. But thank you so much for the analysis. I was going to ask you a question, but I think you answered it ahead of time. The thing about the thing about history and and whether we could see a little semblance of it repeating itself in these finals. And as you've mentioned, it's still very, very difficult to tell. So we'd want to leave it at that. Daniel, thank you so much. Thank you. So Daniel Cranting is our man on the ground, and he's been bringing us some analysis on what we should be expecting. We'll be going around the table in a bit as well. But during the week, we had a policy statement from the vice president. He's been looking forward to engaging the sports sector more, and he has put a few ideas across. And of course, all of these are within the context of the failure of the Black Stars at the AFCON. There are those who have said that the Black Stars could have been here in this space if we had just taken our chances and decided to do things a little differently. And so what are we trying to do here? Those on the political end of things say that they want to bring in policies which they believe will be the game changer. So the vice president during the week spoke about establishing a new sports secretariat, which will be the main liaison between government and the agencies. Tamimu, can we get a little into that, especially as we build on more towards this final? Now, how is it going to work, and how differently is that going to operate from the National Sports Authority that we have? Because by law, the National Sports Authority is the technical agency for sport, and also that which is supposed to oversee the associations which in turn also develop and promote sport.
Yeah, Nat, thank you very much. What the Vice President, Dr. Baumia, spoke about on his policy on sports was to give a broad vision of what his policy for sports will be when, by the grace of God, he becomes the President of Ghana from 2025. At the moment, he knows where we are in our sports development, and considering the kind of investment the government has made in expanding sports infrastructure in the last 7 years, he believes that there has to be a new approach if we are to develop our sports and make it to realize our potentials and create more opportunities for the youth of this country. So he identifies certain hindrances where we are now that are not helping in the development of Ghana sports. And one major hindrance he identified is funding. And he believes that our funding approach to sports, or our approach to sports funding as it is now, has to completely change if we have to really develop and expand sports and be competitive in the African continent and globally, and also make it an enabler for the youth. So he feels that when he comes, he will develop a new funding model for sports by incentivizing the private sector to invest and also support sports. That's number one. And number two, he also identifies our development approach to sports, and he feels that it has stalled progress across all the federations, across all the sports disciplines. And now, all over the world, sports is developed on school base. And the vision of this government is to make sure that everyone is in school. And as we speak now, almost every Ghanaian child is in school. Unless you choose not to go, you have no reason not to be in school. So he says that under his presidency, he wants to develop Ghana sports as a school-based. He will liaise with the relevant stakeholders such as Ghana Education Service and then the sports federations to develop sports at the school level. But he wants to do that on a vehicle of a new vision where he wants to establish the Ghana School Sports Secretariat, which will be an agency under the ministry responsible for sports.
And that will operate differently from the National Sports Authority?
Absolutely. As we speak now, the National Sports Authority is one of three agencies of the Ministry of Youth and Sports. The others being the National Youth Authority and then the Winneba Sports College. But this new secretariat that Dr. Baumia has proposed to implement is to be another agency. That will be the fourth agency under the ministry responsible for sports. And their main objective will be to ensure the development of sports at the grassroots level through schools. And he will do that in conjunction with or in collaboration with the Ghana Education Service and all the over 40 sports federations that we have. The reason is that he has already spoken about funding. And if you have a presidential vision to establish this under his presidency, it's going to be a secretariat. What it means is that there will be a dedicated budget for it. It's not going to be business as usual when you say that, oh, I want to develop grassroots sports without the commitment of funding and the vehicle to drive it. This is his personal vision. He wants to see that it is developed as a school-based sport. So the secretariat is there. You establish it. You resource them. You get the schools and the federations to run it, because you cannot develop sports in isolation and not engage the federations. When it comes to the development of sports, they are supposed to also contribute significantly to it. And having said that, he wants to have a rethink of funding model for sport, or a new funding model for sports. What it means is that he wants the various federations to be financially self-sufficient. Once they are financially self-sufficient, they can focus on developing the various disciplines. But at the school level or at the grassroots level, it has to start with the schools.
It's interesting you're raising all of this, because we've been talking issues of funding. I mean, when the Black Stars went to the Africa Cup of Nations, there was a conversation about, and there's been a conversation about, our intended spend of $8.5 million US, something which many people have questioned because of the quantum, and when you juxtapose it against the eventual prize money, you'd realize that it sure is pulls apart, or there's a very big disparity there. But we're asking ourselves once again, how are we going to raise the funding? Because in our history, at least in the Fourth Republic, we do know that sport as a sector is one of the least funded when it comes to government operations. And this is something that has been repeated year in, year out. Yeah. So where are we going to draw the funding from so that it becomes sustainable?
First of all, the broader vision of Dr. Baumia is to incentivize the private sector to contribute significantly to national development. When you narrow it down to sports, he says that he wants to repeat same in the sports sector. And the new funding approach is to incentivize private sector to invest more in sports and also to come in support in the way of sponsorship. That is the funding model, standard funding model across the world. Governments cannot continue to fund sports. You cannot leave the funding of sports solely on government budget. It's completely inadequate. And as you rightly said, that has been the challenge with us since independence. All the sports federations, what they do is that they have their programs, they have their budget. They send the budget to the Ministry of Youth and Sports. They want support. The ministry cannot support all of them. So what government must do, apart from building infrastructure for sports development, is to create that enabling environment for the private sector to come in. I want to use the example of the Black Stars, for instance. The Black Stars is the biggest sports brand of the country. When the Black Stars are playing, they capture the imagination of the entire country. It's the only national team in Ghana that when they are playing, the entire country is watching. The stadium is full. Everyone is following online. So why can't we market such a brand for the Black Stars to be financially self-sustaining? And then whatever amount government puts into the Black Stars can be channeled elsewhere to develop sports. That's number one. He has different approaches for the fund to raise the funds. Government cannot do it alone. One, he talks about incentivizing through taxes, right? So once you have that framework, you encourage companies to come in and support. Another one is also to get them to come in through sponsorship. Before we went for the World Cup, how was it possible that the Black Stars qualified for the biggest global football tournament, and we didn't have a company willing to pay like $3 million to become a headline sponsor? It shouldn't have happened. But if you create that environment and push for the federations to have sustainable funding, that is the way to go. And you do that by having programs the funding will support the program. That's why he's talking about the school-based sports, creating that secretariat. And not to develop sports at the grassroots, you need that political will. And there can never be a better or a stronger political will than a president of a country saying that I want to develop grassroots sports through the schools. And as a result, I want to establish a secretariat to drive that vision.
Very well. These are conversations that will be expanding as we go along. And of course, as I mentioned, all of these have come up or are coming up at a time when the Black Stars performed very, very inadequately at the Africa Cup of Nations. The tournament wraps up tomorrow. We've been having conversations about getting ourselves there and what the ripple effect of the performances of the teams, and for that matter, the organization of the tournament is having on other nations. And these are some of the angles that we've given it, including what the Vice President said during the week. Earlier as well, former President John Dramani Mahama also talked about growing a home-based foundation for the Black Stars team. And that is something we'd also go into to see how practical all of these ideas are for the eventual goodwill and interest of sport in Ghana. Now, we'll just zoom in gradually on the finish line for the show. And I would want to go around and ask the gentlemen here with me and who are joining us virtually as well, how would want to see the game play out. There are those who, based on their predictions, will want to see a slow-paced game, a lot of passing around, a lot of moving into empty spaces. There are those who also want a very fast-paced game, one that has long balls and, a lot of running back and forth on the flanks and all of that. I don't know what kind of game you want to see the Super Eagles play tomorrow against Cote d'Ivoire to be successful. What kind of game do you want them to play?
It has to be what we've been playing throughout the tournament, because why change from something that works, right? Okay. And we've beaten them before with this. The thing is very simple, because when you are facing Cote d'Ivoire, they don't have a game plan in terms of like how they play, right? They have a game plan in terms of how they win, but there is no style of Cote d'Ivoire play. They don't have a style that they go to, and it is very evident because if you watch their games, a lot of the times if you play Kessie and play Fofana and then you play Seri instead of Sangare, the midfield is open because Fofana is running. Kessie will not be that guy that runs around to mark so much like that. And then you have to have Sangare there, but I've seen that he's put on the bench. How does Cote d'Ivoire play? It's a question. How do they play? Now, with Sebastian Haller back, they are now playing cross and head. That's what they're doing now. So they go to the wings and cross the ball to Haller and expect that Haller is going to find a situation and score. So Cote d'Ivoire does not have a style of play. Their style of play is try not to concede and play to score one goal or however, come back and win the game, whatever that is. So there is no style of play that Cote d'Ivoire plays. It is a scattered style of play. But what we have seen is that when people play scattered style of play, you cannot predict it, and because you cannot predict it is a problem.
And that is what should strike some worry.
Yeah,
with you.
Well, it can strike worry with other people, but not me.
Okay. We need to bring Stone here next week, because if this thing goes otherwise, you'll have a lot of answering to do to all of us.
I've said a lot of things
Yeah.
in different shows.
Yeah.
And I have done videos, and the producer in the other place, she took a video of me on the staircase.
Yeah.
Where I was saying that I don't know the color of Cote d'Ivoire's jersey. I still don't know the color of the jersey. I don't know if it's yellow.
That is not possible.
I don't know if it's yellow or orange.
That
or,
is not
or,
possible.
or
You
blue.
know the color of Cote
I don't know
d'Ivoire
the
jersey.
color of. I don't know the color of Cote d'Ivoire jersey. I'm telling you right now, I don't know the color of the jersey. So because I don't know the color of the jersey, I'm not interested in that situation.
Okay.
But what I'm trying to say is very simple. Because you can't predict the way Cote d'Ivoire will play. Would they play from the middle? Fofana is going to shoot shots. That's his normal way. That's his normal way. Would they cross the ball into the box? So they just want to play. They play like a pack of. When wolves are pursuing you, you don't. I'm talking like any of us here have been pursued by wolves, but I'm just saying, like, if you're watching on TV and you see wolves pursuing an animal, it looks like there is a strategy, but they are really trying to, like, just engulf the animal and just take it down and everything. It's almost the same way. They are pursuing you to score and they don't want to concede, but they end up conceding. So how I want Nigeria to play is very simple. We're going to play contain and counter, because when Fofana comes forward, I pray and I hope that they play Fofana, Kessie, and put Sangare on the bench. I hope Sangare is put on the bench. It's gonna be a beautiful day if I look at the starting lineup and I don't see Sangare, because that is going to give me joy, because it means that if I counter them, I've eliminated their midfield. So I'm going up against 3 defenders or 4 defenders. And that is a sweet thing for me, because when I have Ademola Lookman, I have Moses Simon, I have Victor Osimhen, I have Iwobi, and all those kind of stuff attacking the Cote d'Ivoire defense without their midfield, without protection, because the defense will not have protection if Sangare doesn't start. And I'm praying, I'm hoping, Cote d'Ivoire coach, listen to me. Don't start Sangare. Don't start him. It is going to be beautiful for Nigeria. Don't start him. Put him on the bench just like you did before. Don't have a midfield. Help us.
Stone, I like your honesty.
Yes.
It just goes to tell that in all of this, there should be some weakness. Let me just ask you this before I go over to John. So he tells me how he expects Cote d'Ivoire to play as well. Stone, what is the weakness? What don't you like about the Super Eagles going into this game? And we have to be honest here.
All right. Let me be realistic. Okay. You see, those passes in the middle that Fofana is going to make to Hala is scary. That's the scary part, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you watch Angola, they threaded that pass through the Super Eagles. So you can't play around the Super Eagles. If you want to do cross and nod, it might not work. But you can play through the Super Eagles, because somehow Ajayi or Calvin Bassey always keeps somebody onside. Okay. So, and Hala is one of the, he used to be one of the best strikers in the world till he had that issue and all of that kind of stuff, but he's still good. Is that good? So if they can get that pass through the middle, Angola did it, South Africa did it. You get it? So these guys, they did it. But South Africa did not score with it, but they did it. Angola did not score with it. They hit the bar. They did it. So if Cote d'Ivoire plays through Nigeria, usually Ekong is the one usually in front there. Ajayi is the one behind. And because Ajayi is behind, Calvin Bassey somehow, I don't want to be pessimistic, but Calvin Bassey has been very amazing. But sometimes he doesn't know where he is. Sometimes on the pitch, and then he keeps people onside. Do you understand? If you understand what I mean?
Yeah, very well.
So at the end of the day, if Hala plays like I know Hala can play, that is going to be a problem, because they're going to get one-on-one chances, right? 1 or 2, that kind of thing. But if they do cross and nod, I don't think they can score that. Ajayi on Hala, that's going to be a difficult thing. But if they play through, where Fofana, can play those passes through. Kessie can also play those passes. He did that at AC Milan. He did that at Barcelona. He's still doing that at Saudi Arabia. All those passes through. And then if you bring Sangare into that midfield, if Sangare, Kessie, and Fofana start, right? I'm gonna have problem. I'm gonna be scared because not really scared, but I'm gonna be worried because Sangare can win the ball, give the ball to Kessie. Fofana is running. Fofana runs with Hala. Who are you going to mark, right? And then all of a sudden, those passes are threaded through, and Hala has an opportunity. So that's it.
So more or less, trying to deflect the attention so that the ball goes through an unanticipated path, and then they get one.
Yeah, just distract them with Fofana.
Very well.
Yeah.
All right, John. Let's now look at the Ivorian end of things. What kind of game do you want to see the Ivorians play? I mean, Stone has been honest to tell us that he doesn't like it when the Ivorians play through the middle of the pitch and start arranging play and organizing their press through the middle. Can you unmute? Can you unmute for us? Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, very well. Very well. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Stone had a couple of really good points on this Ivorian team. I think that they're unpredictable, and that's probably one of their strengths. Since Emile Faye took over this team, they've been really unpredictable in terms of who is going to start and who is going to be able to perform and who is going to also stand out within this team. In the semifinals, it was Frank Kessié and Sebastien Haller who came out. And the game before that, it was Adingra and Diakite. And in the game before that, it was Frank Kessié as well. So really, the threat can come from anywhere. And we also need to not forget Fofana, like Stone was mentioning earlier, who is a key player and who can really change things for this Ivorian team. So hopefully, I think that they need to continue playing like they have been playing, well, at least play like they played against Congo with keeping the possessions, but also trying to be incisive, try to play the ball forward and try to break those lines of this Nigerian team that's going to be solid in defense at the end of the day. But finals tend to be cagey affairs. They tend to be 0-0s. They tend to go to penalties. They tend to not be very open. And I am really hoping and praying and crossing my fingers that this is more similar to the last World Cup final where that ended up 3-3 France versus Argentina. That would be fantastic. It would be fantastic for the fans that are at the stadium, also those who are at home watching the match. It'd be good to have a more open play, see a couple goals, 3 goals, maybe a 2-1 or a 3-0 for Ivory Coast wouldn't be bad. But I would love to see an open game, but I think it'll be more of a cagey game, and it will probably end up either a 1-0 in 90 minutes or probably end up going into penalty kicks at the end of the day.
Well. Let's start bringing in all of our, our listeners and our viewers who sure would want to be part of this conversation. So it's 0302-216-541. 0302-216-541. 0302-216-541. Get through to us and let us know which side of the coin you're on. Are you on the side of Nigeria or Cote d'Ivoire? Based on the analysis, where do you think this could be going? Could it be a third for Cote d'Ivoire or a fourth for Nigeria? Ghana remains at number 4, and that's a very big conversation we're going to have post AFCON, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really sad that when we won our 4th in 82, I think Cote d'Ivoire had 0 and Nigeria had 1 because they won their first.
I'm told you were on a lighter note. I'm told you were doing your national service at the time in 1982.
Yeah, so honestly, as a Ghanaian, I don't want I don't want our rivals, Super Eagles, to catch us at 4. Yeah, I don't want that, and I know many Ghanaians don't want that. When we had 4, they had 1. Now tomorrow we could be at par, and it's something that we really don't like. So we want to see our closer neighbors, Ivory Coast, at least if they have 3. There will be 1 behind us as we restructure and then we take off again.
Restructuring is also one conversation that has come up, very strongly. Now, this week, the Ghana FA president met the media in the garden city of Kumasi and talked about restructuring and starting from base. And all of this will marry into the further conversation of having a new coach for the Black Stars of Ghana. Well, so Ghana is in the conversation indeed, but right now we need to throw the focus on Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire. So we'll get on the line now and have a chat with our first caller. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Matt. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for asking. What's your name?
My name is Nana. I'm calling from Syntex.
Okay, go ahead, Nana.
Okay. You see the arrogance of Nigerians. It's never stopped. I remember when they were going to play Ghana in the World Cup qualifier, where they came out with their 9 strikers and everything. Stone is still exhibiting the same thing, and many Nigerians are still exhibiting the same sort of arrogance. This arrogance will never win them any cup because they're not humble enough to even tout the achievements of Cote d'Ivoire. This is the team that has beaten Senegal, the current AFCON winners. They've beaten a team with 10 men down. They've come back from the dead. And their story is much better than Nigeria's story. This is a script written for Cote d'Ivoire to win. So I would humbly tell the Nigerian guy sitting there to be very humble, and tomorrow it's Cote d'Ivoire Day.
Talk about humility. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. 0302-216-541. Talk about humility. I remember that Amokachi video where he did a 360 in the stadium and told us about how, they were going to beat. Yeah, but that must have been very painful. This sporting rivalry between Ghana and Nigeria, it gets very painful sometimes,
The World Cup thing.
Yeah.
The World Cup thing.
Yeah.
I was pissed. The reason I was pissed is because Ndidi was not available.
Okay.
I was pissed.
You think that Wilfred Ndidi could have made a difference?
Come on now, let's be realistic.
Okay.
Let's be realistic. I mean, and then the goalkeeping error.
Okay.
Come on now. So, but I mean, a win is a win.
Yeah.
We got beaten. We went out. And to respond to the caller that said humility, there is nothing humble about this. This is a match, okay? Now, you can come and say you support Cote d'Ivoire to win. I'm saying I support Nigeria to win. In fact, I don't support Nigeria. I know Nigeria will win. It's not. I support is an insult. I know Nigeria will win, and it's not a thing of humility. It's just a thing of knowing. I know this is what I know, and it's as simple as that.
So that's the reason why we're going to have a wrap up AFCON Today's show with you, so that we do a proper review and we ask more questions of you. Depending on how it goes in tomorrow's final. So later today, it will be, DR Congo and South Africa. I need to go around the table to, for you to tell me where you think it's going to go. Let me begin with you, Tamimu. DR Congo and SA.
I think the South Africans will start as favorites because of what they've been able to do in this competition. They never expected to be here. And to get the opportunity to be third at the African Cup of Nations will really kind of give them that needed inspiration. And they look so solid. And I think they are slightly ahead.
Okay, so from Tamimu Issa, it's an edge situation for South Africa, the Bafana. Now, remember, it's 0302-216-541. 0302-216-541 or 055-11-11997. Let me go over them again. 0302-216-541 or plus 233-30216541 or plus 233-55-11-11997. Join us as we wrap up the show with your thoughts on the subjects we've discussed so far. Stone, DR Congo, South Africa. Where do you see it going?
South Africa is winning. DR Congo doesn't have a chance. They have tried.
And this one is an emphatic will win in capital letters, like you always say.
It's emphatic. This is not. Let me collect from one of the greatest talkers of all time, Paul Heyman. Of the WWE.
Yeah.
This is not a prediction. This is a spoiler.
Okay.
That's what it is.
All right. So South Africa for you.
South Africa is going to win.
All right, John. DR Congo, South Africa.
I think for the first time in this show, I agree with Stone that that South Africa will probably win tonight.
Yeah.
So at least we're in phase with that part of it. South Africa will beat DR Congo. DR Congo seemed quite toothless against this Cote d'Ivoire team in the semifinals, and South Africa, they have a close-knit team. Like Stone mentioned earlier. They have about 6 players that play at Mamili Sundowns. They have a local group, and they'll be willing and they'll be wanting to push forward so they can get this bronze medal and take it back home on tonight. So South Africa it is.
South Africa it is. Okay, so South Africa it is overwhelming. Let's speak to our last caller before we wrap it up. Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, hello, good afternoon. My name is Roland. I'm calling from Akade. And as a Nigerian, I'm going to speak to the match that is going to play tomorrow about Nigerian. And as Ghanaians coming over, that Nigerians come up with arrogancy and this is football, And you can say because you've won the trophy a long time ago and that Nigerians shouldn't come off and maybe overtake Ghana or something. No, that's not the way football works. Because Nigerians play their football and they expect to win. So if you want to support every coach, you can support them. Nigerians are going to go to the field, play their game out, and win. That's how it works. You understand? So it's not about arrogancy. There's no arrogance in this. Nigerians are not arrogant. They just want to win. And they know the only way they can win is maybe put fear on the opposition because we've beaten them already. There's nothing more about it. You understand?
Thank you.
So that's what I'm going to say about this whole thing.
Right.
And I want to ask you and the panels and your panelists, can you tell me, please, in this whole competition, if there has been any team that has been better than the Super Eagles? Just tell me. That's the question I want to ask. Thank you.
Give that guy a land in Accra immediately. Give him a land in Accra immediately.
I know Stone want to put you on his shoulder, but time is not our best friend right now, so we'd have to wrap it up, gentlemen. I'm very grateful to all of you. Thank you so much for the time, and let's do this again after the tournament. Let's have this conversation again. So John, thank you so much. John Buffo, a sports analyst from Abidjan, speaking to us here on the Joy Sports Link. Stone, thank you so much, and all the best to you guys. We will be sitting at the back and just observing everything that goes on. And Tamimu, grateful to you for the time. Daniel Cranting also brought us some analysis. Thanks to all of you for doing the listening. And just before we wrap up, our hearts will go out to the king of the Ghana state, King Taki Tekotru, the second, who is a good friend of the Multimedia Group. He buries his father today. And so from all of us here at the Multimedia Group, it's keep hope alive and be strong. And we are wishing you well in these trying times. So I'll be back next week with another Joy Sports Link. Thanks to the whole production team. Thanks to Benaya Elom Dafiamekpo, my set and producer for today. Later this afternoon, Kwame Dazi and the rest of the team will bring you Showbiz A to Z here on Joy 99.7 FM. My name is Nathaniel Attoh, and I have love for sport.